It's happening. We're doing a show. We haven't done a show where it's just us three. No Will, no Joey. Just the Holy Trinity, as they call it.
That's what they call it.
Are
It's
we the holy
purified stuff.
We're the Holy Trinity of Broncos talking heads. Buckle up.
Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Ooh, which one are you?
You're
the Son. I'm the Father. Bree's the Holy
I'm the
Spirit.
unholy spirit.
The unholy spirit. All right, we're going to talk about the Broncos today, I swear. Oh, okay. I had to play the intro so I could drink some more there. Welcome back. It's been a couple weeks since I've done the Wednesday pod. Will's in Mexico. He's working. But this is 2/3 of the Let's Talk Broncos crew. So make sure you subscribe to the Let's Talk Broncos YouTube channel. If you're a Broncos fan, they're doing Broncos videos there all week. Ton of cool content. I love what they're doing. So make sure you support them and subscribe to Let's Talk Broncos. It is linked below, as is Underdog Fantasy. If you want to play fantasy football, code Let's Ride. I don't know if you guys know this, but I am currently 0-47 or 0-48 in my Underdog pick'ems. And without checking, I think I have the world record for most pick'ems without hitting a single one.
I almost hit this weekend. I was playing over the Thanksgiving holiday. I was like, man, I'm feeling good about some picks. Did the insured thing, so I only had to get 4 out of 5. And I got 3 out of 5. And it was looking great as Tim Boyle only had like 2 points through 3.5
quarters. Did you go lower on Boyle?
I went lower on Boyle because it's Tim Boyle. It's Tim Boyle, who, if you look at his college stats, he was a bad college quarterback.
He's terrible.
I went, this guy's not getting 10 fantasy points. And for about 3.5 quarters, I went, oh my God, I'm about to make some money here. And I still don't know what happened. I don't know how it went south.
Yeah.
I thought I had won it until like Monday or Sunday, actually. I opened the app to like make another bet. And I'm like, wait, why are my profits showing up? Oh, because Tim Boyle got some garbage time points. I'm furious.
I got Tim Boyle right. I got Garrett Wilson right. I got 3 of 4 correct. I don't insure, not me. You can do it. I like to live a little more dangerously. It was Tua. That got me in that one. Anyway, use our code Let's Ride. All right, Broncos are playing the Texans this week. And I think this is the most important game the Broncos have played this late in the season since 2016. Do you guys concur?
I fully agree. It's the Super Bowl or I think someone highlighted that Raiders game in 2016 on Monday Night Football as another one with big playoff stakes. That season they ended up 9-7, so they didn't make it. But it's one of those two.
It takes the chances of a playoff berth from like nearly 40% down to 15, and I think that alone spells disaster for Broncos country. I'm too high off of a 5-game win streak to really care about like percentages and statistics. I'm gonna let Zach deal with that. But this is huge. This is gigantic. This is the most hyped I've been as a Broncos fan since 2016.
Yeah, to the stat Bree is citing there. They're 20% chance if they lose the game. I think it's like 19-18. And it's a 61% chance if they win it. Right now it is like at that 40% range. But it's even bigger than that because there's also the upside of a win that you have to factor in. This single game has a 40% swing on their playoff chances. It's massive. If they get this one, more than likely for the first time all season, that it's more likely than not that the Broncos make the playoffs. Even week 1, the odds makers thought it was less likely than not. That would be pretty awesome. So big game. Sorry.
With the Texans being the same record, and then the Broncos holding the tiebreaker with the Browns win, I think that I thought it was more positive than that the Broncos would have a chance at the playoffs, but they're still fighting from behind somewhat. This is momentum changing.
Well,
and it's like the Texans, the Colts, the Browns, the Steelers. Those are all the teams like to really be paying attention to right now. with the Broncos and getting into that wild card spot. And I think the Texans and Colts still play each other, so they can cannibalize each other a little bit. So even if the Broncos lose this game, it's not the end of the world. Obviously, you're talking about the percentages going down, but if they just win this game specifically, then there's a real path they get in. And I think the Broncos are better than the Colts. I don't know if they're better than the Texans yet. This game worries me in that this is the best quarterback they've played all season. Sorry, it wasn't Patrick Mahomes when he had the flu, and it wasn't Patrick Mahomes a couple weeks before that. It wasn't even Josh Allen. It's C.J. Stroud is going to be their toughest challenge as a passing quarterback this season specifically. And I am so excited that this game is in December and it means something. And I'm also excited for Texans fans because when's the last fucking time they've had a game that's going to mean something this late into the season as well? So it's cool that it's one, the Texans, we didn't think they would be this good this season. And two, the Broncos, who through their own volition were just terrible. And we were like, okay, they might have the first overall draft pick. And now we're talking about playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting, sorry, Bree, it's an interesting matchup also of like what could have been. You have the D'Amico Ryans angle, who of course was a finalist for the job, probably would have gotten the job if he didn't choose Houston over Denver.
Oh, yeah.
So that probably would have been what the Broncos staff would have looked like ultimately. So I think that's an interesting element to track. And then also what could have been in the sense that if the Russell Wilson thing continued to look disastrous, which now it doesn't look disastrous, whatever side of the fence you fall on, fine. But it's no longer the tire fire that it was a little bit ago, where the Broncos were looking at, are we going to have to do a Texan style, gross, tear down, fiery rebuild where we're awful and kind of just in the Bermuda Triangle for 2 years? And fortunately, things have really turned around over the last month and a half or whatever. But in a couple ways, the Houston Texans are like what the Broncos could have been.
Sorry. Yeah. You can keep talking, Zach. I'm just bringing up this graphic. It shows the Texans' remaining games. So they played the Browns and the Colts, which ultimately should help the Broncos. The Colts and the Steelers play each other. That could help the Broncos. The Broncos having the 27th easiest schedule moving forward also helps. Does not help that the Chiefs have the easiest. That's just bullshit. And then the Ravens having the toughest schedule. It's kind of crazy for them. But it means that spots 5, 6, and 7 can all open up. So there's 3 spots that they can get into, essentially. It feels like there's just one. It feels like they can only get that 7th seed. But they could get as high as 5, depending on what happens with the Steelers and the Browns, as well as, the AFC South. So it's crazy.
It is crazy. I have a question for the both of you. Does this feel like the true test of the season for the Denver Broncos? Because everything else seems to be riddled with asterisks. You have backup QBs, injury-riddled Browns teams, questions of whether or not the Broncos are a dirty team, which I'm going to lean strictly into dirty Denver. But this one doesn't feel like they can explain away a win here if the Broncos pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely true. I don't think you can pass the Chiefs. And that game was weird. I think they're one of the ones you're kind of alluding to where they had a lot of crazy turnover luck. You had Mahomes with the flu, and maybe people will use that as an excuse. But even with all that weirdness, that was such a boogeyman for this franchise. Like, I think it is the NFL record, right, for the longest losing streak to a single opponent. So I think that was like the test of the season they had to prove themselves against. Houston, though, I think is right there with them. Maybe a second place team. I think everyone's been circling the Lions. This Houston team is playing out of their mind right now. Over the last month, they are the 3rd best offense in football, trailing only the Cowboys and the 49ers. Over that span, they're also an above average defense. I cannot believe how quickly this rebuild has taken hold, but right now they are playing like the type of team that wins a playoff game. Maybe they're not a Super Bowl contender, but they're not that team that limps into the playoffs anymore. They are a real deal playoff team, and who better for the Broncos to cut their teeth against as the Broncos try to prove themselves as a real deal playoff team.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think they just lost to the Jaguars, and the similarity for if you're looking at the Broncos and the Jags, it's that both of their defenses have been good and opportunistic. I think before the Broncos went on their like turnover streak, the Jags led the NFL in turnovers. So it's similar. So knowing that Jacksonville won, knowing that Trevor Lawrence, when he's playing his best, is just playing kind of mistake-free football. It's a little bit boring, but it's like solid football. That's just what the Broncos have to do in that game. So my only concern is the turnover streak for the Broncos is so insane that I don't believe it will continue. And that's not to say that the defense is not good. Part of turnovers is just dumb luck because that football, we don't know how it's going to bounce. And over the last couple of years, I felt like when we were watching the Broncos be very bad, there was this theme where they would force fumbles, but they never recovered them. It was like, I remember specifically a couple streaks, like they just can't catch a fumble breaking back their way. It's always like recovered by, I don't know, like Sam Darnold recovering his own fumble and then rolling into the end zone for a touchdown, literally fumbling his way into the end zone against the Broncos. And right now, I think their fumble recoveries are like the most in the league. So there's a lot going well for them. And it's building up to a point where we need to see more from the offense at some point. And the guy I wanted to talk about that I think is going to be like the key for the Broncos' success for the rest of the season is Javonte Williams, because he, to me, still hasn't had like the Javonte game. Sean Payton continues to give him more opportunities than any other running back. And that's fine. Like, it feels like Javonte does the dirty work, and it's starting to set up opportunities for other guys, whether that's in the pass game or whether that's for P. Ryan. But if Javonte can start just breaking off a couple of those runs and he continues to get that like 18 to 25 carries Sean Payton wants to give him outside of the Vikings game, like if Williams gets hot, nobody can stop this team. I swear to God, that's the guy. That is the guy, in my opinion, moving forward.
For me, I'm going to circle Russell Wilson. Kind of the point I was going to follow up here, and I don't think he's been playing bad or anything, but I do think, like, if you want to hang with the Texans, if you want to hang with some of these top teams in the AFC, you circled the Jags and how they compare to the Texans. I think a way they're different from the Broncos, or I guess compared to the Broncos, a way they're different from the Broncos is, at least in the Texans game, how opened up the offense was. Like, Trevor Lawrence was making some big plays in the passing game, and Russell Wilson has done that in the red zone. If he starts doing that between the 20s or just throughout the whole game, not just in the fourth quarter and in the red zone, this team becomes infinitely more dangerous. And there is, I think, a bit of a governor still on Russell Wilson. And I think that's fine. It's maximizing Russ, but I think if you want to hang with this Houston Texans offense, that, again, third best in the NFL over the last month, they're going to get theirs against this defense. This defense is good. I don't think they're going to give up 70 points, but this offense is probably going to score 27 or so. Can Russ get 28? Can Russ get to 30 in a game where he's having to keep up with CJ Stroud? I think we've seen really high points of Russell Wilson's game that suggest, yes, he can do that. And I think there's been low points of his game this season that suggest that, no, maybe he can't.
Zach, you mentioned the defense for the Texans, and I believe they're in the top 5 or top 6 for passing yards per attempt, like 7.2 or 7.3. So I know the run defense is good, and I know the Broncos have been trying to really establish that run. I think that's what limits Javonte Williams again this week. But it's going to rely a lot on Russell Wilson being efficient out there and finding other ways to get it done. So that's what I'm not most worried about, but I think that's what's going to take away from the run game, at least from this game and this matchup against the Texans. But Javonte Williams is set to go off. He continues to improve, but Samaje Perine is taking away a lot of that kind of shine. And I think the more that Sean Payton leans into having multiple weapons in that backfield, it just spells success for the Broncos as they move forward. I just worry about how well that'll carry them into the playoffs, but they still need to face the Chargers. They still need to not shoot themselves in the foot within the AFC West. So it's interesting to see what the game plan is for the second part of the year, because what worked in the first half obviously has changed. I didn't have a question there.
Sorry. No, I agree. I think it has changed.
No, I was just looking up how many rush yards per game Houston's giving up. It's 95.1. So they are a top 10 rushing team on defense. That'll be, like you just alluded to earlier, Zach, like Russ going to have to do something through the air, because I feel like they will be tougher to run against than, but they have like 169 rushing yards last week. That helped against Cleveland. But Cleveland was fucking good too. So what were they? Where's Cleveland?
Cleveland, I don't know where they rank, but that's the best defensive front in football. That's the best, I think, front
they're at
seven
105
in football. They've been playing it. They've been playing like it all season long. They're absolutely suffocating, and the Broncos bowled them over. I do feel pretty confident in the Broncos' ability to create something in the run because of that Cleveland game. That Cleveland game was so instructive to me about the offensive line. Russ had a great game. He definitely helped getting the offensive line in the right looks. I don't want to like take it away from him, but I think part of the reason Russell Wilson is as good as he was is because, my God, the offensive line held up well. The touchdown to Adam Troutman, he's back there for 7 seconds. Like, he's got all day, and he only kind of has to do a little shimmy on Zadarius Smith, which is great. Like, hey, Russ, make one guy miss, we'll hold up everyone else for 7 seconds. That's a great recipe for success. And if you can do it against Cleveland's pass rush, you can definitely do it against Houston's. Watch Will Anderson, though. Anderson has been playing terrifically this season, and hey, they just did a good job against Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith. So I'm and then Daniil Hunter before that. So I'm confident they'll be okay. But don't look past Will Anderson. He's great in the run game. He's great rushing the passer too.
Yeah, he's improving. It's like, I don't think he's made the impact like you assume an edge rusher taking that high makes early in the season. But I think people don't understand it takes a little time for them to adjust. So yeah, there's that chance where it's like, oh God, everybody knows about Will Anderson because he sacked Russell Wilson, 3 times or one of those dumb stats. But I think you're right. The offensive line, it's not just better. I feel like it's getting more physical every week. And I feel like the Broncos defense is also very physical. There's flaws on defense, don't get me wrong, but the dirty D thing, I like it. Just lean into having the dirtiest D in the NFL, and the Broncos, nobody's going to want to touch their dirty D. Now, I did want to say, I think the dirty D thing, the dirty Denver, whatever, that's just one of those internet, it really bothers me because I don't think a lot of people are saying it. I think one random Cleveland dude said it, and then everybody picked up and then quote tweeted it, and it turned into a thing where a bunch of Broncos fans were assuming all these Browns fans were saying it's the dirty Denver defense. And I think we basically went out and snatched that name for ourselves after seeing it. But I do like the identity of PJ Locke's going to hit you. Baron Browning's going to hit you. We might have a couple flags in the game. I don't give a shit if those guys keep playing, because I think all of their hits were legal hits. I think PJ Locke let up on the hit on Njoku. So make guys scared. Make them scared. Like, that's how Seattle won when Russ was there and that defense. So yeah, I want that. I want the dirty D to stick.
Yeah,
right.
I don't think any of it was dirty, and I fully agree with what you said. I said this on our Monday show. I think as a defense, you want people to like know you hit them. I don't think you want a defense that is out trying to injure people. This is a livelihood, but I do think like having a physical defense that sets a tone is valuable. Heck, the Texans are one of these teams. You have seen D'Amico Ryans bring it over from San Francisco. San Francisco under him was just an incredibly fine-tuned defense that swarmed to the ball, hit hard, made their tackles consistently. He's left, and the Niners have become a little less of that, and the Texans have become more of that. And they don't have the same talent as the Niners defensively, but I think they're a solid defense. Like, they are playing well above their talent level right now. They don't miss tackles, and I know it sounds like a basic thing, but there's a lot of bad tackling teams in the NFL. Houston's not one of them.
Somebody was asking in the chat whether or not Browning got fined or any Broncos got fined. I don't believe Baron Browning was fined. I didn't see anything for PJ Locke. It's almost amazing to me because it does feel like, again, Kareem Jackson got the short end of the stick there. Although he is meeting with Roger Goodell to talk that over, and I'm very interested to see how that goes. But the Broncos should lean into that narrative, and maybe it's a narrative that was wrongly created by some random person in Cleveland who decided to have a voice on a day. I mean, the guy was just talking his stuff, trying to get those clicks and that engagement. And I appreciate it. That's a brand building move in itself. But the Denver Broncos and their defense really needed that, especially after getting walloped and embarrassed by the Miami Dolphins. So I think it's just really interesting now that it gets to kind of be in play for a team who is getting national recognition for being on a hot streak. They are literally the hottest team in the NFL. And if there's a little fire burning under there because the defense is playing really tough, and that's making some people upset, believe me, I, of all people, am going to lean into that.
After the meeting with Goodell, Roger's just like, and 20,000 more for you, Kareem. What'd I do? I didn't like the way you came into this conversation.
You left a voicemail and I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, you hit the voicemail too hard, Kareem.
You slammed the door too violently.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it's good. I think it's good to have a reputation as being a tough defense. It's just like, let's just if they make CJ Stroud just look pedestrian, I will have unbearable amounts of confidence moving forward.
This is what I'm hoping for, right?
Yeah.
Like CJ Stroud the week after throws 4 interceptions. They did it to Howell. They did it to Dobbs. Why not Stroud? Take them right off their high horse. I know Howell's not a great example,
but honestly, like, outscore them too. Like, I don't think it has to be the defense. I think the defense has proven what they need to prove to an extent. Like, hell, they could keep improving. I'm not gonna turn my nose up at that. But even if, hey, this offense still looks great, I'm not going to fault the Broncos defense that much because they've been an elite offense for about a month now. But if this offense can beat the Texans in that style of game, something I don't think they've had to do yet. Like, yes, the Bills have an awesome offense, but that game was really mucky. The Chiefs, we know what their offense can be, but it hasn't really been the same this year. And that game was really mucky. If they can win like an offensive shootout, and it doesn't have to be like in the 30s or the 40s, but just a high scoring game, that's another bit of confidence I'm going to have because we're seeing the Broncos win in yet another way. I feel great after that Browns win because I feel like that was seeing them win in a different way. Just kind of they dominated that team and just absolutely out physical to the most physical team in the league. I would love to see them win in yet another way this week.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of did that with Chicago and Washington. They just didn't win in Washington. Are in Denver against Washington. But Brandon Johnson's set to come back at some point. And I'm going to be honest, I fucking forgot about him. And knowing that he might be back at some point with what he's like got that 3-week window or whatever. He had 2 of those touchdowns against Washington were Brandon Johnson. He had a TD later. So I think they're still just trying to find that second piece in the receiving game. Who knows when Greg Dulcich will be back, but there is a little bit of optimism in terms of maybe getting somebody back in the receiving game to help at some point. I would like for it to just be Jerry Jeudy, and for whatever reason, that just has not manifested at all at any point this season. I feel like, I don't know if that's play design with Sean Payton, Russ not seeing Jeudy, because we saw Russ lean on Jeudy late last year. We're like, oh shit, Jerry Judy's really good still. And now it's been the Cortland Sutton season in the receiving game. I Outside of Williams, they need a second dude to step up, or Russ needs to find a second guy. Unless it's just Adam Troutman catching a touchdown he shouldn't catch every week. I can live with that too.
Well, Brandon Johnson has the second most receiving touchdowns on the team with 3. That's a scary stat there. And Jerry Jeudy was on the injury report today. Looks like he did not practice with what looks like a groin injury. So it looks like maybe even more limited in that pass game for Russ.
Yeah.
I
hope we see
Will
Sutton.
Hump, Johnson, somebody.
Yeah, or just lean on Sutton even more. Like,
Yeah.
I think you can do that too. Sutton is on such a heater right now. I don't know, bomb the ball downfield to him some. Like, he would have had another highlight reel catch if not for a wildly soft OPI call on Sunday.
Oh my God, that was so infuriating.
That, and then he drew a pass interference, which isn't going to show up in the stat sheet, but this guy is such a threat downfield. He's going to draw a lot of pass interferences, which, hey, are like just about as good as a reception from the offense's perspective. And
his hold brought back Javante's run too. Somebody mentioned that earlier, but it was his hold. Yeah.
And that was an even.
It was also
call.
bullshit.
That was a textbook block. I don't even know what they were calling there. I'm still baffled by that one.
Anyway, we won that game, and I still have like things to be like pissed off about.
They won it pretty handily.
Yeah,
it
was a good
wildly one-sided officiating. I mean, they got again. That game filled me with so much confidence. They looked so good that week. I really hope we see that again against Houston.
Yeah, oh God. What else? There's one. Let's see. I had one. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go way ahead. I've decided how I want Russell Wilson to win a Super Bowl for the Broncos. And yeah, I think it could happen this year, guys. Russell Wilson could win a Super Bowl this year. I want Russell Wilson and the Broncos to get to the Super Bowl first, okay? But then I want the victory to come with Russell Wilson having fewer passing yards than Peyton Manning did in Super Bowl 50. And I want the Broncos to run it 40 times. I want Russell Wilson's stats to be just pedestrian. No interceptions. Maybe he has like 112 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown. And just play the most team-like game he's ever played in his life. Okay? Because what's the narrative on Russ that we've had to deal with? Like, he's a weird teammate. He's not a good teammate. You don't get his phone number. He wants to win MVP, and that's why he's sucked or whatever. He wants the stats. I want the victory, and I want the worst stat line, and I want it to not be because he played poorly. Hell, have him complete 100% of his passes. 11 for 11 for 112 yards, 1 touchdown, but the Broncos run it for 200 yards, hand it off 40 times, and everybody goes, damn, Russ was such a good teammate in that Super Bowl. That's what I want.
Can I throw in a caveat of a goal line touchdown? Like that's what he throws for his one touchdown.
Yeah, sure. A 1-yarder. Oh, no, it's the slant route. Yes. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Oh my God, Bree, that's perfect.
That would be amazing. I looked it up really quick because I was curious. I'm like, what's the fewest passing yards by a Super Bowl winning quarterback? Bob Greasy with 73, and then Bob Greasy again with 88. I would love to see Russ.
He did it twice.
I mean, yeah, he's the fakest Hall of Famer of all time. The Johnny Unitas there with 88, Terry Bradshaw 96. That's about it.
It was a different game back then.
Wildly different. Wildly. I mean, yeah, the fact that Bob Greasy's in the Hall of Fame, that's such a joke. But yeah, let's have a Bob Greasy Super Bowl performance for Russell Wilson. Get him over the hump for the Hall of Fame.
That's my dream.
That's
my dream. And that's all I have today, guys. Anything else, Bree? Anything else important for today?
I mean, I didn't come in here guns a-blazing with any sort of plan because I know better.
Smart.
No, guys, I don't have anything else other than I'm really excited to watch Broncos football. And if you would have asked me 5 weeks ago, I wanted to bury my head in the sand. So I love the direction that we're going. And if they lose fingers crossed that doesn't happen, I think I'll still be really impressed with the turnaround here, both offensively, defensively, the general sense of where this team is going, the tutelage of Sean Payton. I was out. I was far out. I'm scared. And now it looks like teams like the Miami Dolphins are playing poorly. Josh Dobbs seems to have maybe gone down on the roller coaster there. But I'm excited. I really like talking about this team right now. And sometimes you just have to make it through the suck, and maybe it starts to suck again. I don't know, but we'll still be here every single day covering and talking about the Broncos because that's what we do.
I like it. My last take I'll fire off here. Sean Payton is getting his revenge against Richmond Flowers. Richmond Flowers, for those who don't know, is this goofy agent guy who is like the agent for Nathaniel Hackett and a bunch of those coaches off the McVay tree. He also runs Quarterback Collective, and between Sean Payton's USA Today comment and like week 4 of the NFL season, he made about 100 tweets. I lost count at about 40, but I did not get that far into it. So I'm thinking about 100 tweets about Sean Payton over that span. Since this win streak, he has made 0. He's been silenced. And the reason why Sean Payton is beating up on all his clients, Matt LaFleur, that is one of his clients. Then you come back a few weeks later, you get Kevin O'Connell. That's another one of his clients. Then you get the other Kevin Stefanski. That's another one of his clients. You know who they get these next couple weeks? D'Amico Ryans. That's a Richmond Flowers client. Brandon Staley, if he's still the head coach of the team when that happens, he's a Richmond Flowers client. Sean Payton's on a heater right now. He's getting his revenge. He's keeping skulls. Broncos win.
Yes. I like it. Although Sean couldn't get his revenge against Hackett straight up. So
I think or Mike McDaniel. Those are the two he's lost to. But since then, and that's kind of this whole win streak is kicked off, and he has bludgeoned that tree since.
All right. Well, now they just need to bludgeon the Texans, and we will be set. We'll be set. We're going to the Super Bowl. It's that simple. Should we leave? Should we end it?
I'm done.
I mean, I'm done.
All right. Bye.